Hi, this is going to be part one, if we can't get through all of them, of the critique and review of the motion assignments that you guys turned in onto Blackboard. Before I begin the critique and review, though, I need to tell you something, and that is I'm really impressed with the work that you all did on this motion assignment. We had some great concepts at play. You really got the technique down well. What I'm going to be doing in this review is seeing what I can do to maybe make those images, if possible, a little bit stronger. Generally speaking, you were concentrating so hard on the effect that you sometimes forgot the photograph that the effect was to use as a storytelling instrument. So let's see what we can do. Let's take a look at some of this work and go from there. Here were two shots, two versions of the same shot that came in. It's a really fascinating shot to me, although it came in as the blur assignment. In fact, all of the action but one is actually frozen in space, and this looks like someone caught this family in the backyard at the instant that some alien ray came down and froze them all in place, except for the little boy with his silly string thing. And if you look over on the right-hand side, you can see the silly string going out and finally falling out of the air over in here in this dark corner. I like both of these crops. This particular one, the one with the dark corner, almost makes it look like the bad alien was hiding in the dark there, and only this little boy is able to get off a shot with his silly string cannon to try to deal with it. But overall, I think I like the cropped one a little better because we get into the major gag, which is everyone frozen in action. Forget that this is supposed to be the blurred shot. Let's deal with this just for what it is. And I think it's a pretty good one. So here we have the shot opened in Photoshop. I think it's really pretty well done. There are only a couple of things that I would add to it. I really think we want to concentrate on the photo gag here of all these people trapped in time. So some of this, and particularly like the grass field down in here, start to take us away from it. Since it's already a black and white shot, and I'm not worried about screwing up color, I'm going to go and grab the burn tool, make this a little bit bigger. The burn's set to about 40%, and that'll be okay for this demo. And I'm going to take this grass down a little bit and very, very slightly vignette that edge to start bringing you into the shot. And I'm going to do the same across this top. Very minor fixes. Now, I am a little plagued by this light area up in the sky above the neighboring building, but that is such a simple thing to fix. I'm going to pick a light color maybe off of this shed. Will work okay. Pick a brush, and I'll tell the brush to darken. Remember what happens. That brush will now only paint on its own color or a lighter color. So I'm going to set this way down to maybe 20%, somewhere in there. Yeah, close enough. And now I can just knock down that highlight just a little so it isn't quite as glaring as it was. I might do the same with the highlight in her hair. And maybe even along the bricks of the flagstone on this little walkway. And other than that, I would leave this piece alone. I think it's just fine where it stands. So that was a very simple one to fix. Let's see what else we have. Oh, now we have a wonderful capture of these kids playing together. Let's see what we can do to make this a little bit better. There are only a couple of things that I would do. Number one, the action in here is clearly in here. It's the interaction between the two and the stunningly perfect catch of this wave of water coming up out of the bucket. We know what's going to happen. It's going to just splash all over this little girl, and she knows she's getting prepared for it. So that's where our shot is. That's where the real action is. But we have a couple of interesting problems. We've got these power lines that are creating this perfect arrow. In fact, if you add the streak of water to it, you've got this implied arrow that's taking your eye right up and off of the picture. It's almost impossible to avoid that. So the first thing I'm going to do is to pick up the spot healing brush, and I'm going to get rid of those power lines. Now, I'm not going to bother about them too much up in here because I really don't care what's happening there. I'm going to get rid of that too because I think this is a whole lot of sky when I really would want you looking down here. So I am going to darken this grass just a little bit, and I'll use the burn tool just because it's quick and easy. Okay, so now let's see what we can do to help you concentrate. I'm going to create a crop for this. I've got a little element over here I can get rid of. That kind of takes your eye off of the shot, this opening in the sky. Again, we really want you to look right in here. And I want to get rid of some of that sky. So I'm going to come down to about there. If we squeeze her just a little bit against this wall of the edge of the picture, she has nowhere to run. In our original picture, she had room to get out of the way. She has no room here. So if we take that, now we've really concentrated things in on this particular area. I think what I would also like to do is just darken this highlight on her just a little, just so it isn't quite so blown out. And the way to do that subtly, I mean, there are a number of ways to do it, but I'm going to do it with our old standard of a multiply layer. Oh yeah, there's a lot of detail in there. Look at that. I'll make that a layer mask. And using Control I, I'm going to reverse that mask. I'll take a brush, and I need a white brush to do this. I want a very small but very soft brush. So I want all of the hardness taken out. And using the bracket keys, I'm going to make this brush a whole lot smaller. 20% is fine for a start. There we go. Look, we can pull that detail into her hair along the side of her arm and leg. This is black, so there's nothing we can do that's going to hurt that. And I might bring in the older girl's shoulder just a little. Okay, so there we have, let's see our before and after. There was our before, and here's our after. You could darken the sky if you wanted, but at this point, I don't think that's really necessary. So we'll just let this one go, and we'll see what we have next. Again, we have a nice catch of the young lad there in his swing, and we're getting a sense of this motion going on. The only thing I would have recommended that you do is to use a slower shutter speed. Your pan with him is perfect. You really stayed right on track. He's nice and sharp. But if we had a slower shutter speed, then this background area would have less of this detail to distract us, because the real shot isn't the city, it isn't the other swing, it isn't the courts over here. It's him in the swing. I mean, isn't that what we're really after? So if we bring this in, if you wanted to keep this a horizontal, that wouldn't be bad. I'm inclined to think that it actually wouldn't make a bad vertical. We don't need to see all of his leg to figure out what he's doing. A little more of the chain, perhaps. And there we have a fairly nice vertical of him. I would vignette these corners around here. Even if this were blurred sufficiently, I would do that. So let's do exactly that. Let's make this the multiply layer. And this time, we'll do it the reverse. I'll bring him out. So we'll make that a layer mask. We'll use a black brush. And we'll lighten him. Now already we've got a lot more nice detail in the shot. On the swing. Now, if we wanted to darken that background more, remember we can duplicate this layer and duplicate the effect. So if we pull that down and duplicate it, now that's a little too much. So let's just lower the opacity of this top layer. And there we have a really nice shot of the young boy swinging in his swing. But again, it would be better if there was more of a blur to that background. So let's see what else we have. Yeah, here we go. I'm guessing that this is the same young boy, probably out at the same park. It's fascinating what he might be doing. There are two balls here. He's running up. It looks like he's getting ready to kick this, but is he going to kick the little green ball into this ball? Is this kind of like a bizarre game of pool? Anyway, I think the action in here is really this vertical. So again, I would crop this down into a vertical. Give everything a little bit of room to move here. So we'll tighten it more on this side. The obvious direction is going this way. We'll take that. Now what we want to do is affect some of these tones, just like we did on the swing. We'd like the background to go darker and have him still stand out. And so we're going to do it the same way. We'll make a duplicate layer. Once we've made our duplicate layer, we're going to turn this to multiply. Oh, goody. I'm going to lighten that just enough to make the background a little better. There we go. I've got color in the grass. I just need, because he's in the shade, I need to lighten him up a little. So we're going to put a layer mask there. We use the black brush. Nice and soft, nice and small. And we can bring him right out. Now, while I'm at it, I'm going to lighten that lighter ball that's there. So that it now really stands out. So now we've got a shot where the background is a little darker. It's not blowing us out. and we can really concentrate on the kid a little better. With this vertical, we really get more of a sense of this movement. With the original horizontal, a lot of that movement was lost. So let's move on to the next one. I decided to bring this up because I think it's an incredibly cool shot. I don't think I would do anything to this. At first I thought maybe I would darken the sky just a little bit, vignette it, but I think the flatness of it really goes along with the flatness of this whole look, of the whole ocean look, with this long, long exposure. So I think this is delightful. I'm not going to touch it, but I wanted to show it to you as a cool example of a long, long exposure creating a very surreal look to a shot. So let's go on to another one.